Hello there everyone, this is me Ethan here and welcome back to another film video. Happy end of the year. I hope you all had a fantastic year filled with great memories and great movies. I know I certainly did, and in today's video I will not be counting down my top 23 films released in 2023. That's a later video. I still have way too many movies on my watch list from this year, so I will get to that eventually, but today I'll be counting down my top 23 favorite films that I have watched for the first time in 2023, which basically is any releases 2022 and prior. So real quick, I'm going to run through my honorable mentions and then we will get into the top 23. Getting into the honorable mentions, we have The Shawshank Redemption, It's a Wonderful Life, Prisoners, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, 500 Days of Summer, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Jojo Rabbit, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Breakfast at Tiffany's, Nope, Howl's Moving Castle, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Moonrise Kingdom, the John Wick franchise, Shrek 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, The Princess Bride, Everything Everywhere All at Once, After Hours, Get Out, Stop Making Sense, Scream, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Remember the Titans, Good Will Hunting, and After Sun. I know that was a lot, and I really want to talk about all those films, but if I went through every single honorable mention, it would pretty much be a top 50 films of 2023, and I only want to do my top 23 right now, so let's get into it. Starting off at our number 23 spot, we have When Harry Met Sally, starring Meg Ryan and Billy Crystal, and boy are these two leads wonderful together. I love the chemistry between them, the banter between them. It has a lot to say about men and women, and if they can be in just friendships or just relationships. It looks beautiful. I love the fall aesthetic, even though it's set during fall and Christmas time and New Year's, which is very fitting for this video. But overall, I love the aesthetic of it. I love the songs used in this film. The soundtrack is great. It's very funny. It's very heartfelt. It's just a very, very enjoyable film. I watched this about a month ago, so I remember more about it than some of these other films that I watched, say, 6 months ago or even 12 months ago. But I just had a blast with this. I really, really enjoyed it. It's such a sweet little rom-com, and it's one of my new all-time favorites. At number 22 is a film that released in 2020. It is a Korean drama called Manari. Some of you may have heard of it. It's on Netflix as of the recording of this video. At least I think it's still on Netflix. But I watched this for the first time about a month back, and it surprisingly really resonated with me. It's about this Korean family who moves to rural deep south Arkansas to build a farm and a new life of their own. And it's a very fascinating, cute little story. It's also kind of sad, but it's a very enjoyable film. It's got a weird aura to it. It captures that stinkiness and just that sweaty feel of Arkansas. I've lived in Arkansas for a little bit, so I know how it feels there. It's just got a really dreamy aesthetic while also being disgusting and a nasty Arkansas. I don't know why I'm going on for so long about this part in particular, but it really stuck with me. This film overall stuck with me for like the next week, and it totally took me by surprise, and I would highly recommend. At number 21 is Casa Blanca, and oh my gosh, did I love this film whenever I first watched it, and I've loved it more upon every single rewatch. I have a poster that I'm looking at right now. Obviously I own it, need to upgrade to 4K. That just shows how much I really do love this movie. This is one of the best black and white films I've ever seen. I know it's not too unpopular of an opinion, but I was blown away by this, and this was one of my first ever black and white films I've seen that I've like been totally shocked from, that I just absolutely adored. The two leads in this, and Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman, just stellar. There's not much to be said that hasn't already been said about this movie because it's just so timeless. But I just love it. I do not have much to say about it except that I love it. And at number 20 is The Breakfast Club. I recently got into watching some more John Hughes films, and as a teenager, I really, really enjoy his movies, and I think anybody can enjoy his movies. There's such a youthful energy to his films that I appreciate so much, that make them so fun to watch, even if they can sometimes be emotional, and that is very true with The Breakfast Club. It's all set in one location, only really has 5 leads. They're all so good in this. You learn more about them as they go along. It's a very, very simple premise, but it is timeless because I feel like all 5 of these characters in this film I could have seen at my high school just 6 months ago, and they could have similar problems to them or similar characteristics. And that is why I love this film so much. It's not only just a great 80s movie, but it's just a timeless movie in general that I feel like many people can relate to, and it feels so incredibly real. This year I finally watched some Edgar Wright films, and by far my favorite, at number 19 we have Baby Driver. I love the performances in this movie. I don't think it's talked about enough. Most of the people on this poster are pretty problematic now, but I love all the performances in this film. I think they're all doing a really solid job here. They're so fun to watch on screen. And speaking of the poster, I've always been drawn to this poster. I believe it released in 2018, and I've always noticed this poster on Letterboxd. So I'm so happy to say I've finally watched it and that I love it. The action scenes are so well directed in this film. I love the soundtrack. It's got a killer track, as they call it, and the way it matches up with the action scenes is something that Edgar Wright apparently does in a lot of his films, which I find really, really cool. But it was especially awesome in this film, and I just like this film because it is cool. I don't think it has the most amazing story ever, but it is just a cool, fun time. This year, I finally made it a goal to watch every single Lord of the Rings film. Now, I had already seen The Fellowship of the Ring a couple of times. I thought it was, pretty good, but I hadn't seen the other two, which it's almost like one movie within 3 movies to tell the full story of the book, which I know makes sense, but I was never really the biggest fan ever of that film, and I think it was just because I hadn't seen the other two. So at number 18, we have Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. I have the theatrical versions on Blu-ray. I need to watch the extended versions. But Return of the King is fantastic. It is probably the most epic movie I've seen all year. I don't think it was my favorite one based on like February whenever I watched it. I really need to rewatch these. I rank these movies all on Letterboxd throughout the year. So some of these films, it's been a while since I've watched them, so my memory may be a little bit fuzzy, but I really loved Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. It is so epic. It's very long, but it's very, very epic, and I had a blast with it. At number 17 is a 2022 film, RRR, the Hindi film that took the world by storm last year. I never got around to it last year, but I did in like early January, maybe early February, around the first 2 months of the year, but I had a blast with this one. I remember many scenes from this film, and I desperately need to rewatch it. The 2 leads are just hilarious and so fun to watch. You got one guy piggybacking on another guy while shooting machine guns at bad guys. It is insane. There's musical numbers in it. It's got amazing set design, amazing choreography, just a wonderful film all around, an insane 3-hour action musical epic. And at number 16 on this list is a very different film, In the Pursuit of Happiness. This is an iconic Will Smith film with his son Jaden Smith. I'd passively watched this my freshman year of high school, but only this year did I finally sit down, focus on it, and fully watch it. And boy, was this just a delight. Watching this my senior year was so motivational and uplifting, and that's the best way to describe this movie. It's depressing at times. Some scenes just kill you, like I think the $5 bill scene towards the end. Oh my gosh, I was hurting with that scene. It frustrated me so much. But this film is just great. I think it's one of Will Smith's best performances. I haven't seen everything from him, but I thought he was really, really good in this. It's a little melodramatic at times, but it doesn't overdo it. It doesn't try and be too cheesy. I just thought this was a great little film. And at number 15, we have another Lord of the Rings film with The Two Towers. Now, like I said, some of these films I'd watched over 6 months ago, almost a year ago at this point, and The Two Towers was my favorite of the bunch, and I think that was because it gave me a further appreciation of the Fellowship of the Ring, which I had otherwise not really enjoyed just because I hadn't seen the other films. So for that reason, I really, really enjoyed this one, and it was the first film where I really clicked with Lord of the Rings and understood, okay, this is why Lord of the Rings is so well known as a movie franchise. I know there's books, but I understand now why these films are so iconic. The production design, everything, it's all great. There's not much to be said about this. I can't remember a whole lot of it, but I did remember really enjoying this film. At number 14 is a Audrey Hepburn film starring Audrey Hepburn as well as Cary Grant in Charade. This is a great little mystery thriller. Let's see, when did this come out? 1963, directed by Stanley Donen, and this took me by surprise. I decided to watch through quite a few of Audrey Hepburn's filmography this year, mainly during the summer, and I had so much fun with Charade. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I love the cinematography in this film. I thought the two performances were really fun to watch. They had some good banter between them, and it's just a really fascinating movie that I had a really great time with. At number 13 is a maybe a little lesser known film, Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. This is based off of a book it released, I believe, almost a decade ago. But I was recommended this by a friend. Shout out Jeff, Brick by Brick. At number 13 is a film that may be a little lesser known. It is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. It is a book adaptation, and I loved this movie. Shout out to Jeff, aka Brick by Brick, for recommending this to me. I ended up reading the book actually after watching this, and I rewatched it after reading the book. The book kind of sucks for the most part. Our main character, Greg, he has no development in the book whatsoever, but the movie fixes that. This is a film about a high schooler in his senior year who wants to be a filmmaker, who films little short films that imitate iconic films from the past with his buddy, and he has to befriend this girl who is dying from cancer. And it is such a great film that resonated with me, obviously, as someone who just graduated high school this year, loves making films, loves watching movies with friends. It just clicked with me right from the get-go. And even that aside, it is a wonderful story. The story in the book is really good, but the movie and the screenplay in this make it so much better as Greg progresses throughout the film and isn't just like, okay, I'll befriend this girl just because she has cancer. No, he actually cares. He cares in this film, and I really appreciated that. All three of the leads are so good in this. I really like the way it's shot. It feels like an indie film. Maybe it is, I'm not sure. But this was just a delightful little teen coming-of-age movie that really clicked with me just on a very basic level, but it also had a really fun, heartwarming story to it. At number 12 is a Steven Spielberg film starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. I'm sure you can guess what this is. It's Catch Me If You Can, and oh my gosh, is this just a great film. My parents had actually watched this, I believe, on their honeymoon in theaters, and for whatever reason, I just never gotten around to watching it myself. I don't know why they didn't recommend it to me. This film is just so good. It's about a con man and a guy trying to chase a con man. I think just even beyond that premise, it's so good. I could go on and on about this film, but I can't. It's just fantastic. Leonardo DiCaprio, this is maybe my favorite performance from him. I haven't watched a lot from him, but this will probably remain my favorite performance from him. His character is so incredibly funny, yet sad. I saw a review where this is the funniest sad movie of all time, and I think that perfectly sums it up. I love I think it's 60s style of everything, the music, the way it's shot, the Frank Sinatra in it. It's just a really sad story, and it really makes you think about who can you really trust. Are we really trusting our friends and the people we know and our family members, or are they just putting on an act? Which is even more fun considering it's portrayed by actors who are portraying real life characters based on real life events. It's just a fun thing to think about. Who can you really trust? Are we really being real around the people we know, or are we just acting up a storm? It got me thinking. Maybe I'm just crazy here, but it really got me thinking, and this is just a great Steven Spielberg film. At number 11 is a classic courtroom drama, 12 Angry Men. This is pretty much a perfect film from start to finish. I love this. It's got amazing performances throughout the entire thing. It's pretty much set entirely in one location, but the dialogue in this, the screenplay in this, it's so engaging. Normally, most dialogue-driven movies are hard to keep my attention. I can only keep my attention for so long, then I have to turn off and go back to it. But this film kept me there the entire runtime. Of course, it's not a super long film, but it is just wonderful. It is riveting. It is exciting. And it's just 12 guys talking in a room. Wonderful. This year, I not only challenged myself to venture out into the genre of romance, but also the genre of horror. And I know Alfred Hitchcock is the king of suspense, so what better Hitchcock film to start off with than Psycho, his most iconic film. I don't think that's up for debate. It probably is. I've known of this film for a while now. I know of the iconic shower scream, but I had never known the context in which that scene takes place in the film, and it totally shocked me. The first half of the film and the last half of the film are totally different. It's something I did not expect, and it totally surprised me. This is at number 10 on the list, by the way. I don't think I've been numbering this so far, which I need to keep track of that. Sorry. But anyways, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, it was just so exciting. Part of that is the twist towards the middle where the film completely changes its perspective, and I think its main character in the Psycho himself is so fascinating, one of the most fascinating characters in all of cinema, and I love this film. I thought it was so fascinating to watch, and I understand why it's such a cult classic. At number 9 is another John Hughes film. This is Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and boy is this just a fun teen flick. I had a blast with this one. I watched it for the first time, I think on Paramount Plus. Had to get the 4K Steelbook whenever it released. I love the 3 leads in this. This is a film I could pop on at any time of the day and just relax, sit back, and enjoy. It is such a fun 80s movie. You can't go wrong with it. You can't go wrong with it. I don't know what there is to say that already hasn't been said, but this film is pretty much the definition of a fun time. All 3 leads are wonderful. It's got good music, it's got fun characters, it's just comedy gold. It's everything I want and more out of a teen comedy. Now moving on to number 8, we have Roman Holiday starring Gregory Peck and also Audrey Hepburn, who was previously in this list. And this is maybe my favorite rom-com that I've watched this year. There's one other film in this list that could be considered a rom-com, but I don't consider it a rom-com. But regardless, this is probably my favorite rom-com. It is just such a cute little film. I love the Italian setting. Audrey Hepburn is just the best in this film. She is so charming to watch. Gregory Peck is just a bumbling idiot at sometimes, and he's fun to watch too. I love the scenery in this film, the way it's shot. Our 2 leads have such wonderful chemistry, and it is just a delightful little film that always puts a smile on my face, and it's such a warm movie that I cannot help but love. Kind of on a similar note, at number 7, we have Singin' in the Rain. This is just a classic. There's not much else to it. I love the Technicolor in this. It looks amazing on a 4K disc, by the way. I love the Technicolor in this. All the musical numbers are so memorable. I've listened to them so many times this year, but they didn't end up on my Spotify Wrapped, so Spotify is kind of rigged whenever it comes to musicals, I guess. But Singin' in the Rain, just excellent songs, excellent choreography, excellent acting. Overall, just excellent. Never fails to put a smile on my face. Heading into the number 6 spot is a very different film, a Martin Scorsese picture, Goodfellas. I picked this Blu-ray up for like $3 or $4 at Barnes & Noble back in July because I know my dad loves it. I know it's an iconic Martin Scorsese film, so I just had to check it out, and yep, it's great. I understand why it's so beloved to so many. It's just chocked full of insane performances, incredibly memorable scenes, some even really funny scenes, but it's also a really heartbreaking story about gangsters. It's a very cool movie, despite how awful some of these dudes are. None of these fellas are very good. I learned that the hard way. But Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, it's just, you do not get better than this with Martin Scorsese. Are you kidding me? I don't have much to say about this film because so much has already been said, but it is just excellent. It is fantastic. I need to give it a rewatch, but I had just a blast with this movie, and I cannot get enough of Goodfellas. And now we are moving into the top 5 favorite first watches of this year. Starting off at number 5, we have Steven Spielberg's 2022 film, The Fabelmans, the semi-autobiographical film about Steven Spielberg's adolescence. I watched this actually in the theater, I believe in January or February, and this film just hits different. Obviously, as a teen who loves filmmaking, this film is obviously going to resonate with me, but the performances in here are also really good. Who's the main guy? It's Gabriel LaBelle. He is so good in this. I wish he got more recognition in this film as a young Steven Spielberg. He is so good. Paul Dano is great in this. Michelle Williams is really good in this. Even Seth Rogen is good in this film. And after watching this film, you look at Steven Spielberg films just a little bit differently. Like even in Catch Me If You Can, you have the cheating mom, which after watching this film, you see where that comes from in Steven Spielberg's life. And as you watch more of his films, after watching this, it makes this film all the more special and all the more important in his filmography. I think it looks beautiful. It may be a little bit too long, but I don't really care. I think it's so good. The ending shot of this is one of the funniest final shots in any film ever, and I continue to love it. I cannot recommend this film enough. If you are a fan of Steven Spielberg, or if you're just a fan of his movies and you're interested about hearing more of him, this is an excellent film to watch. At number 4 is Damien Chazelle's Whiplash. Now, I'm a big fan of Damien Chazelle. I love La La Land. I'm not a big fan of First Man, but regardless, I absolutely love La La Land, so I knew I had to check out Whiplash this year, and oh my gosh, it is the most intense movie I have seen all year. It just flies by. J.K. Simmons is just on a mad streak here. He has just gone insane. And I don't even know how he did it. Like, how in the world did J.K. Simmons do that? Miles Teller is also really good in here. I think J.K. Simmons might outshine him a little bit, but boy, just two incredible, wonderful performances. There's not really a whole lot to this movie except a guy who's just addicted at bettering his, I'm not going to say his life, but I'm going to say like his hobby or his passion. It's just a film about obsession and just going insane. It's just, I've watched it a couple times, and every single time I'm still wowed by it. It is amazing on a technical level, on an acting level, directing, the orchestra scenes and the scene at the end. It's all shot so well. I love the music in it. In fact, I heard Whiplash at my local Rocket Fizz earlier today. I even got a butterscotch beer from there, and I heard Whiplash playing on their Spotify on there, which goes to show how much this film has been culturally significant, I guess, now. So I thought I would mention that, but just a great film that I really enjoy watching. And now, our final 3. These probably won't be the ones you expect outside of number 3, but at number 3 is David Fincher's The Social Network, the story of Facebook. I've heard of this film forever. Now, I've never actually had Facebook, being at the age that I am, but the story behind it is so fascinating. Jesse Eisenberg just plays the perfect a-hole Mark Zuckerberg role, and he's just so unlikable, yet also really funny in this movie. It's incredible on every single level. The way it's shot, the way it's edited, the way the music is used, the performances, every single thing in this film I love. Andrew Garfield, oh my gosh, Andrew Garfield. He's also so good in this. It's so fun seeing him in other films outside of The Amazing Spider-Man to see what else he can do. And Andrew Garfield's probably my favorite part of this film. I can't believe I forgot him, but he's so damn good in this. Even Justin Timberlake is fantastic in this film, which I never thought I would say about any film ever that Justin Timberlake has ever been in. So if that doesn't show you how good of a film is, I don't know what is. But if you haven't seen this film, definitely do go check it out. It is wonderful. I've watched, I think, 2 times at least at this point, but it is incredible on every level, and I was blown away by it. At number 2 is Richard Linklater's romance masterpiece, Before Sunrise, starring Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. And This film is just something special. I never expected to enjoy this film as much as I did. It's just two people walking around gorgeous landscapes, talking about romance, love, life, loss, all of it. And the entire time I was there with them. I felt immersed into where they were, into who they are. They are such well-written characters. It is one of the best screenplays I've ever seen. Some of my favorite cinematography in a film ever. The colors in here are just popping. They're insane. They're so good. And I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful film. The entire trilogy is really good, but I think Before Sunrise is my favorite just because it captures that sort of youthful awkwardness between two people. It's got just a really stunning aura to it that it's just so bright, and you can almost feel the characters through how it's filmed. I feel like I was almost watching a window. I wasn't even looking through my computer screen, like I was watching through a window, watching these people live just talk, because it feels all so natural and so real and so personal, and it just has stuck with me ever since. And at number 1 is About Time, directed by Richard Curtis, released in 2013. I watched this film at probably the perfect time I could have possibly watched it. I'm not going to get personal about it, but it just really struck a chord with me, and it's such a great tale about living to the best of your life. And even if things go wrong or right, or however they go, that's just the way of time, and you just have to kind of accept it and live life no matter what happens, no matter the ups and downs. You still got to be there because life is beautiful. And I think that is a wonderful, delightful message. It is a time travel movie, which I did not know, even though it was called About Time. I probably should have picked that up earlier on, but I really just love this film. Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson are terrific in this, as well as Bill Nighy. He's so powerful. His performance is incredible in this. It's just, it touches me every single time I watch it. I could watch this at any time. It is a comfort film for me. It is comfortably at my number 4 in my top 4 list on Letterboxd, or my top 4 on my page on Letterboxd, and I'm perfectly okay with that. It's resonated with me. Despite it being a romance, I really connected with it still. It's just a really, really good film, kind of similar to The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, that makes you just want to go out and live your life to the fullest and not let anything get you down. And those films, you just have to treasure. You have to treasure these films that make you love life and the people around you, and never take for granted the time you have around those people, or those moments that you get, those special moments that you may only get once or twice. You may not know if that's your last time that you'll have that moment with that person, or doing that thing, or whatever it is. You don't know how long you're going to have it for, and you should absolutely cherish it. And I think that is one of the best messages you could possibly put in a film. It totally hit me. I got so emotional watching this super late at night, and that's why it's my number 1. I think it's just an amazing message that anybody can hear, and I think it can be true to anybody. Anybody can watch this movie and I think agree with the message, and I think it's just such a delightful film. I can't get enough of it, and it is easily in my top 10 films of all time now. It may go lower, it may go higher, who knows, based on next year, what other films I watch. But at the moment, it is my favorite film that I watched for the first time this year in 2023. So there you all have it. There were my top 23 films that I watched for the first time in 2023. Hopefully this wasn't too long of a video. I don't think it was, but I had a very fun time making this video. I'm happy to be back doing some more YouTube content. Expect a Lego store January 1st haul coming very, very soon. I'm very excited about that. Very excited to make some more movie content for you all and some Lego content. I've got a lot of fun plans for this year. Obviously, a room tour is coming at some point. This poster kept falling down throughout the video, but I don't know if that'll stay by the time the room tour is out. But regardless, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know, what are your top maybe 10, maybe even 23 films that you watched for the first time this year, if you watched that many, or just what were maybe your top 5 or your top 3 favorite films that you watched for the first time this year. It could be a 2023 release. 2023 releases can be included, or if you just want to do first time watches like me, I would be glad to hear any of that. I'm always open to hear some fun film opinions in the comments. So if you all enjoyed this ranking, and if you all enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will see you all in the next one. Bye and have a great day.